Kyle, please at least consider running for president. Even just getting you on the Dem primary debate stage would drastically shift the Overton window. Yeah, I mean, me and Crystal have had this conversation before where we're like, God, it's such a shame. We love our lives. We love like what we do, and we don't want to run for president. It's just so frustrating that like when I look around, I'm like, nobody could fucking do this shit like I could do it. Nobody can handle these political questions and fucking nail it like I can nail it. Nobody knows this shit inside and out like I know this shit inside and out, like Crystal knows it inside and out. So it's almost like I'm frustrated. Like, I don't want to be president, but y'all motherfuckers are almost making me fucking have to run to be president, you know? And like, that sucks. That fucking sucks. Knowing that like, really, none of you are stepping up. None of you can say the things that I know how to say. None of you can talk about the issues like I talk about.
And by the way, I interpret that as about Jon Stewart, because Kyle's been campaigning to get Jon Stewart in the race, like for him to run. Jon Stewart, up until this point, has not really, said anything that leads anyone to believe that he actually will do that. So Kyle's probably like, I have a similar skill set to Jon Stewart. If he's not going to do it, maybe it might have to fall to me. There's a little bit more of this, but what's your reaction off the bat?
I mean, I thought he would say, oh, that's flattering, but I'm not really interested. Maybe one day, right? I remember when we had Crystal on the show a couple years ago, I asked her about that. Maybe you asked her about that. And it was like, hey, you ran for Congress once a long time ago. Your profile, I would say, has massively increased since then, at least amongst a certain demographic. You have a lot of trust with people because of media. Do you have any interest in running for Congress again? And she said pretty much no. That similarly to Kyle, she really loves where she's at. She loves working for Breaking Point. She loves doing that kind of a thing for a living. And it doesn't make sense for her to, disrupt her entire life and change careers like that, because she's not really a career politician. And at the time, it seemed like it was, a better move for her. And then obviously, ultimately, it didn't break her way. Kyle, on the other hand, seems to, it would come across as insane hubris for a lot of people to say what Kyle has said, but he's kind of spitting facts right there. He does know exactly what to say. If you guys are curious, go ahead and look at Kyle. I think it was on a Fox Business segment. Maybe it was a regular Fox News hit, but they asked him about Cori Bush, and it's back in 2020, I believe, when she's running for election again.
I think that was the first run,
or maybe 2018. Yeah, it was very early
ago.
Yeah, it could have been her first run. Either way, they ask about. They play a clip of Cori Bush, and she's talking about the top marginal tax rate. And she says it should be 50% or something like that. And they set it up as like a huge gotcha where they're going to have a lefty come on and be like, oh my gosh, like even she's crazy. Like I would never raise taxes that much. And Kyle immediately goes on there and he's like, my reaction is that I agree with her and that she could actually hike the highest top marginal tax rate by even more. Here's what it was under Dwight Eisenhower, a Republican. You think that a Democrat can't stand to have a higher top marginal tax rate than a Republican who made it all the way to president? I mean, that's ridiculous framing on your guys' part. And he completely flipped it on them. And he made them sound like dummies for not understanding that top marginal tax rate just meant the percentage of your income that you generate above that margin. So let's say it's $10 million, $15 million, whatever you make in a year above that is taxed at 50%. Not all of your money is taxed at 50%. And he just laid it all out there and never got invited back on Fox News.
Yeah, exactly. He also whipped ass on Piers Morgan. I don't know if you remember that, Zach, but he got Piers to agree with him on a few things. That was a kick-ass segment. Kyle should honestly do more Piers appearances, although I can't blame him for not wanting to deal with just the utter like unproductive nature of that shit show. Either way, let's hear the rest of this.
Like, really, none of you are stepping up. None of you can say the things that I know how to say. None of you can talk about the issues like I talk about them. None of you can fucking, like, it sounds crazy, but like I've felt this way. Like I could fucking easily win the shit. It sounds like I'm so fucking full of myself, and it is kind of full of yourself. But like, I don't want to be president. I don't want to go through that. I don't want to have all my old shit in my life fucking dug up. I don't want them looking through 2011 Kyle tweets. You know what I'm saying?
Who's hungry, Kyle?
I know for sure I'd strike a nerve because I would talk about the shit that actually fucking matters to people.
Yeah.
I talk about universal healthcare and free college and a living wage and ending the wars and fucking a 4-day work week and universal basic income and making us the number one infrastructure in the world, like going after the billionaires, fucking protecting freedom of fucking trans people, defending immigrants and explaining how immigrants fucking make this country great. Like, it's just a shame. Like, we need fighters and we need people who are going to target the right people and fucking call out the right villains. And it's just, nobody's going to do it. Like, I feel like I could do it, but I don't think I would actually run for president because it's signing up for fucking torture, but thank you, Holly. Appreciate that.
Yeah,
thank you, everybody who wants me to run for president. But
So it's interesting to think about. It is interesting to think about. Obviously, we don't have a ton of examples of online media figures running for office at that level outside of like Cenk Uygur, who we obviously talked about. I
he
feel
couldn't legally be president.
Right. Well, that's what I was about to say. I don't really feel like that counts, for one, because there wasn't actually even a primary going on. Unfortunately, Biden was not. There wasn't a serious primary going on other than Marianne Williamson and Dean Phillips and Cenk Uygur. I'm sorry, but there just wasn't. So it doesn't really count. And also, yeah, he wasn't born in America, so most people didn't even take it seriously to begin with. I do think Kyle, I don't necessarily think he would win a Democratic primary, but I do think that, if the competition was thin and if it was weak and it was a bunch of corporate Democrats, I do think he could actually do some serious damage. Again, it's pretty hard to say he would actually win the thing, but yeah, assuming that there wasn't a really strong aggressive progressive in that election, and that was like the open lane that Kyle was taking. Yeah, I think he would do really well for exactly the reasons that he mentioned. He is a great communicator. He's a good debater. He's funny. He's edgy. And he's media trained. He fucking does it all day, every day. That's been his job for his entire career. So, I do think that he's not just filleting himself. I actually do think he would do decently if he ever decided to enter politics. And also that would just be so fucking surreal. I mean, it's genuinely crazy to imagine seeing Kyle Kulinski up there with like Gavin Newsom on a Democratic Party debate stage. Again, I don't think he's actually going to do it. I don't. But I also don't think he's just talking shit either. Like I do think he's kind of on point.
Yeah, I think under ideal circumstances, because I think Kyle might get a little carried away. He's like, I could do it easily. It's like, well, dude, there's nothing easy about running for president, right? So I would push back like slightly on that. I think if the stars align for Kyle, I think he could have an impact on an election cycle comparable to somebody like Andrew Yang had on the Democratic primary in 2020, where he made a big splash. He was very, very instrumental in pushing the dialogue. He was more successful than a guy like Mike Gravel, who would be my first instinct to reach for somebody that like Kyle could emulate. Obviously, Mike Gravel had a lot of accomplishments. He'd been a United States senator. He read the Pentagon Papers into public record. He was a very important guy, but by the time he started running for president, particularly the 2020 election cycle, he was very, very old. And so he wasn't able to get out there. And it was very much just an effort to say, hey, like, we're unsatisfied with the people who are running. We want somebody in the tradition of Mike Gravel. His 2008 campaign, maybe more reflective of what could happen. So I do think that there's a lane for Kyle if he did it to get on the debate stage, to really raise a ruckus because of the climate now and the fact that people are tuning into YouTube media more than ever before. They're looking for avant-garde, off-the-wall candidates. They're looking for young people. They're looking for people who are media trained, savvy, informed, etc. Kyle's very impressive across all those things. However, I think coming cold out of nowhere and then running for president is so hard that it would probably put a ceiling on him somewhere around Andrew Yang, Tulsi Gabbard influence on the 2020 primary, in my view.
It would definitely be interesting. I think Kyle would have a little bit. I think Kyle would be a little bit better than someone like Andrew Yang or Tulsi, though, because he actually has spent his entire career not as a politician, but as a communicator. Like, he is really good at just communicating his idea, and he has that outsider zeal, right? So, and he's funny too. Like, you think about the Gavin Newsom Twitter strategy, right? Where it's like, I'm just going to pretend to be Trump. That's basically what Kyle's already fucking using his Twitter account for and has been for a while. But it's not some, paid campaign spokesperson that's actually running the show. It's him. He's just posting those memes unabashedly. He doesn't give a fuck. Again, kind of in the same way that like someone like Gavin Newsom is trying to. So I think he has those really good instincts, and people would fuck with it if he actually did enter the debate. But yeah, I mean, it's tough to say how far he would make it. It's tough to say like the extent to which the scandals and dirt they try to dig up would hurt him with the edgy jokes and the Erica Kirk memes and stuff like that. They would definitely try to scandalize everyone and paint him as some sort of really offensive kind of guy. But I do think one thing we have to acknowledge, like, it sounds so crazy right now, like, oh, a YouTuber running for president. It's actually not that crazy, guys. That's literally the fucking future of this country. It's going to be like, we already have a fucking TV president. What do you think is next? It's going to be online celebrities running for president. It's going to be fucking political commentators. I mean, Tucker Carlson is not on TV anymore. He's a political commentator, and I genuinely think he's one of the biggest potential people to run in 2028 as a Republican. Like, I genuinely think that he could do a lot of damage if he got into the race. One of the only people that I think could credibly challenge Donald Trump is Tucker Carlson. So again, I don't think it's crazy to say, and I think that within like 15 years or so, it'll be totally normalized. Like we were talking about Mr. Beast. He's already teased his political ambitions. People were talking a lot how before Charlie Kirk was killed that he was planning to get into actual politics, transfer his online celebrity into an actual political career. So this is what's coming next, and everyone should get fucking ready for it, as unserious and crazy as it sounds to talk about YouTubers running for office and shit. But again, that's what's happened next. We've already broken down the wall of like having TV presidents and fucking Dan Bongino running serious departments and in the fucking government, Kash Patel, podcasters and shit like that. This is 100% coming next.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. That's why I said I think that the YouTube thing helps him because of the time period that we're in right now. I just think that in order for him to get the amount of benefits that you might be describing, where he's like hella impactful and he's like revved up and it's the future, he would have to get to a even bigger size where he is now. Because obviously Kyle's huge, but when you say a name like Tucker Carlson, I could go walk into a coffee shop and ask 5 people if they know who Tucker Carlson is, and there's a good chance that 4 out of 5, if not 5 out of 5 people know who he is off the bat, even if they hate him.
But no one knew who Zohran Mamdani was a year ago, even in New York City, I imagine.
But president is a big difference from mayor of New York City. So I just think that's
I'm
why
just
I
saying
think
name recognition. I'm just saying name recognition is a hurdle, but I think it can, like with a proper strategy, quickly be ameliorated. A lot of times, Barack Obama, no one knew who the fuck that was. Everyone was saying, oh, Hillary Clinton, there's no way this random ass fucking freshman senator can take down Hillary Clinton, the #1 most famous Democrat in the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, I do think that stuff can be handled.
Obama did have a lot going for him, though. He was a really handsome senator from Illinois. He had a big breakout moment where he responded to the State of the Union. He gave a great speech. It was a barn burner, and nobody did think he was going to win. You're totally right, but he got to the table. There was no denying that he was going to be able to get to the table, and that's where I think the biggest hurdle would lie, because I agree with everything that you're saying, right? Kyle would do a fantastic job. I sound like I'm being a hater right now. I mean, Kyle was one of my biggest inspirations professionally, and I really like the guy a lot personally. So I'm just trying to play devil's advocate.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I totally hear your perspective.
And what I'm trying to say is I think that when it comes to Kyle's chances, it's going to be really hard for him to get on the debate stage, for him to get to that level where he's taken seriously enough. Because once you do get to that level, like for Andrew Yang, I can pinpoint it exactly. He became a serious contender with a real movement behind him the moment that Joe Rogan episode dropped. When he went on the Joe Rogan podcast, he exploded.
I guess Kyle couldn't get that invite anymore.
Yeah, and it was at a time when the Joe Rogan invite was way more valuable, in my opinion, to like that kind of I am apolitical person that Andrew Yang was trying to thread the needle for, that he was trying to attract. And the other thing about it, only real heads know, but it was actually the perfect show for him to go on with his UBI concept, because Joe Rogan had been convinced about UBI a few years earlier by a Vice TV guy named Eddie Wong. He was a blogger as well, but he was like, oh, my brother's really obsessed with this thing called universal basic income. And Joe Rogan was like, we can't have that. You'll have people fucking masturbating in the streets. You'll have people running all over. And Eddie's like, no, it would give people like stability so they could focus on themselves and all the stuff that you like about personal improvement and growth. And he was like, that shit'll never happen. And then Eddie Wong came on again and they argued again. And then Joe was like, you know what? I think you actually convinced me on that. I think if you just pay for people to have $1,000, that's okay. Then he invites Andrew Yang on, I guarantee you, because he'd already been thinking about that UBI. So it was a perfect storm for Andrew Yang to blow up. There would have to be a way for Kyle to manufacture that perfect storm to blow up. And if he could do it, I think he would be a motherfucker on the debate stage. I think he would excel far more than Andrew Yang or Tulsi Gabbard did. They both had a couple of quick quips on the debate stage, but nothing meaningful, nothing as hardcore as even Elizabeth Warren got when she savagely took down.
And Tulsi had the Kamala the moment.
That was her big moment. That was her best moment for sure, but it didn't result in anything. She didn't like shoot up in the polls after that.
It resulted in her being able to successfully transition into the GOP a few years later.
Actually, that is exactly what she used it for. Kind of like how Kamala Harris had that great moment where her best moment on the debate stage was going after Joe Biden. I was that little girl. That was a tremendous moment for her. Again, not enough to get across the finish line. So you see, I think Kyle could have moments like that on the debate stage. I think Kyle could demand the microphone and, squash somebody because he knows how to play that game. He knows how to win an audience. He knows how to never fumble or stumble or fuck up when he speaks, even when he's on a roll under pressure. He's a facts machine. All those things would come into play on a debate stage. I think the hardest part for him would be translating his online support into that, 3% national polling, 5% if you're Kyle Kulinski because they hate you, to get on Democratic debate stage.
Yeah. Well, that definitely would have been a much bigger problem like 20 years ago. Now that literally everything is online, it might actually, help him to be a more exclusively online person rather than someone with a career in the more like IRL field. So who knows? But it's definitely crazy to think about. And also you have to think, it's like, even if he didn't even come close to winning, even if he just showed up to a single debate and then dropped out, imagine how mega viral that would go. Imagine how many eyes the secular talk would get if fucking Kyle Kulinski was on a debate stage. So many people searching his name for the first time. So many people subscribing to his channel for the first time. Imagine if he said like Dickie McGeezax or something on the debate stage. That shit would go so fucking viral. If he broke out one of his like iconic turns of phrase to really savagely attack a Republican, I mean, that would be worth him running for president, in my opinion. Even if he totally flamed out 5% and dropped out before the first state vote in. Imagine this fucking gold, the viral memes, the gifs, the fucking clips going around after even just a single Kyle Kulinski debate stage performance. And I do think that he could get to that polling threshold. It's not that fucking hard to get on the debate stage. It's why the first few debates are always like 30 fucking people and half of them are just total randos with no shot of winning, just like some random governor that's bored and wants to run for president. Oh, I'm Doug Burgum or whatever the fuck, that guy, like stuff like that. Guy never had any fucking chance. He was bored. He was tired of being governor. So he's like, I'm going to run for president. Right. Kyle could do that. He could easily get on the debate stage.
Deval Patrick.
Yeah, Deval Patrick. Again, it's so fucking easy. Kyle has way more name recognition and is way more likable than 75% of the idiots that delude themselves into thinking that they have a chance to be president. And a lot of those people, to be honest, they don't even think they have a chance to be president. They just also want to boost their name recognition, and they want to audition for a cabinet position in the upcoming administration, which people like Doug Burgum successfully did. Same with Tulsi Gabbard. They're both in the administration.
Yeah, I'll get behind Kyle for president as long as behind closed doors he promises me a gig as his personal Sam Seaborn. That's a West Wing drop for anybody who pays attention. That's
I was like, what?
That's his speechwriter who Rob Lowe plays. He's not the senior speechwriter. He's a junior speechwriter. I'm not too big for my britches over here, but I would like a job in the West Wing.
You can be the new Karine Jean-Pierre. You just have to lie to reporters and do, still propaganda for the president.
Yeah, 100%. Whenever anybody says anything I don't like, I'll just say, whoa.
Fake news.
Anyway,
but yeah, I mean, again, obviously we're spending a lot of time talking about something that very likely will not happen, and this is an off the cuff, response to a super chat. But again, it is funny to imagine, even if he was totally unsuccessful as far as like getting votes, it would still be worth it just for the fucking memes, just for the viral clips and the debate stage. And, on a more substantive level, moving the Overton window to the left. I genuinely think that Kyle would contribute a lot of good policy suggestion to a debate like the 4-day work week thing. I haven't seen AOC talking about that very much. He could bring interesting ideas to the table that people like AOC and Ro Khanna aren't. And let's be honest, both those people are most likely, in my opinion, probably going to run for president, AOC and Ro Khanna. But again, if that's the most progressive we have, then yeah, I think there would be room for a guy like Kyle to push it even further.
And that would be great because it would incentivize AOC to position herself even more to the left, because she is going to want to be the left flank of the Democratic primary. She's going to want to be the most progressive person represented on the debate stage. And so if there is a guy like Kyle who is, pricking people's interest with thoughts like that and ideas like that, it would encourage her to at least rhetorically really embrace left-wing messaging.
But yeah, I mean, that would be so funny. Let's hope that happens, because could you imagine the fucking Vanguard videos coming out covering the Kyle campaign? That would be so fun to talk about. I did say that, when we hit 1,000, we could make our announcement. Do you want to wait till the end of the stream, or do you want to make the announcement now?
No, let's go for it. So I imagine the announcement that Gavin is referring to, he'll make the announcement if I fuck it up and announce the wrong thing. But I do believe on Monday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, we will be joined by the man himself, Kyle Kulinski of Secular Talk. And, we're going to have him for about an hour, I would imagine. We'll talk about the state of the left. We'll talk about Zoran's victory. We'll talk about the government shutdown. We'll talk about Trump trying to start a war with Venezuela by doing a regime change there. We'll talk about all kinds of stuff. So mark your calendars. It'll be a little bit later than when we normally start our streams. We'll probably start the stream a little before Kyle comes on, but even still, just look out the door when you hear an ambulance, because the Vanguard will be there and it will not be one to miss.
Yup, 100%. Super excited to get Kyle on the show, specifically after his super viral and mega based spree of memes that he's been posting about Erica Kirk. I can't wait to get his, I can't wait to discuss that with him and get his reaction to some of the insane snowflake behavior from idiots like Matt Taibbi and shit like that. So yeah, I can't wait. We're going to ask him a lot of good, super juicy questions.
Look out the door if you hear an ambulance. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there. Be